financing needs and Islamic investing. Well, people often ask us, this is the reason we have these presentations. Because people ask, how is Islamic financing different? Is it for real? How is it different? That's kind of the main question. Obviously, there's two things that differentiate Islamic financing from conventional financing. One process is right? So they have you sign what's called a promissory note. Islamic financing agreement, the process is different. Where two parties come together, it can be more than two parties, but it's simple. Two parties come together, they agree to buy an asset, joint and share in the profit loss. Their rights and responsibilities. The process is different. It's no longer partnership, the buy and sell. Is that it's going to be done. The other way, this part that's important is, for instance, but this promissory note that conventional banks use, they have a contract that specifies how much is lent, how much is specified. Islamic financing is very different. Islamic financing agreement, what is the asset that's being purchased here? And a promissory note, there's no mention of the address of the property. Because they don't care. It doesn't matter to them. What you're buying, a car, a house, it makes no difference. It's the way that they're making it is awful. In Islam, owning money is totally fine. Let's be $1,000. It's no different. If it gives the loan, it's even better. Right? So loans in Islam are totally fine. So, as long as you're not profiting off the loan, right? That is the key feature there. Loans are meant as a charitable act in Islam. But the traditional banking system, the conventional banking system we have in America and much in the West, this is how they make money. This is how they make this is their life, right? And so with the Islamic financing agreement, the contract is structured differently. The rights and responsibilities are listed for each party in the contract. What is being bought and sold, right? The address of the property, or if it's an automobile, or if it's a tractor trailer, or whatever piece of machinery, whatever the case may be. There's something listed about what is being bought and sold. It has to be some type of physical asset or a service that's being provided, right? It cannot be made based just on money. So a contract has to be drawn up Islamically. That is also different. To give you a real world example of this, when we send our closing documents to the title attorney, when one of our customers is buying a house, oftentimes the attorney's office will call us and they'll ask us, "You got your closing documents, but we didn't get your note," meaning the promissory note. We didn't see that in it. And we tell them there is no note in there. The partnership agreement that's in the contract or that's in the documents, that is our contract. That is taking the place of the conventional promissory note that conventional banks offer. And they're like, "Oh, okay, we didn't know that." So they realize it's a different type of contract. And if you took our contract and you showed it to an attorney here in the US, which we've done, they would tell you this is a totally different type of contract. This is not what conventional banks offer. It's very different. So those are the two features I would say, that make the Islamic financing contract different. This is how Islamic financing is different than conventional loans, is the process and the paperwork. So to give you an example of how we operate here with the partnership program, first step is we have to agree who are the parties, what are we buying, right? And this is the first step. So, we reach out to Brother Hashim to get pre-qualified. Part of what we do is we send you a pre-qualification letter after we get you qualified, but we also send you an agency agreement, right? That's basically establishing the partnership between UIF and yourself, that we are agreeing to be partners. So this is part of the musharaka process, right? And we actually have this included with all of our pre-qualifications that we send to our customers, is the agreement that we're establishing. We have a partnership now between each other. So this is a very important first step. Second step is each of us are agreeing to bring a certain amount of money to the transaction, right? So for example, you have 10%, We'll bring the other 90%. We'll buy the house together as partners, 90-10 partners, you could say. The third step is you don't want to just own 10%, right? You want to own the entire house. So how does that happen? You basically are making monthly payments to us. One part of your payment is to buy us out. The other part of your payment is to pay us a rent, to pay us rent for the share of ownership that we have in the home, right? So I gave an example. You have a 90-10 partnership in the home. Let's imagine there's 10 bedrooms in the house. We own 9, you own 1 in the beginning. So as you make payments to us, we will slowly increase in ownership of the house, right? While you're paying us rent to use our share of the home. We don't live in the home with you, but obviously you're paying us rent to use that share that we own. This is the profit that we make in the transaction. Over time, eventually, you'll buy us out completely, which is step 4, where you make all of the payments, you buy us out of the ownership of the home, and you become 100% owner of the property. So this is the Musharaka model. This is the model that we use. We have different scholars that have approved our program, which I'll get into. But these are 4 of the essential steps when it comes to Islamic financing, how our partnership structure is set up for home financing. We agree to the contract. We have the purchase of the property. You make monthly payments to us to buy us out over time and pay us a rent. That's our profit in the transaction. And then lastly, you buy us out completely until eventually you own the home 100%. So I want to mention just a few things about Sharia compliance. So there's a kind of I think of an understanding that the very minimum Islamic financing company needs to have a fatwa from a reputable group of scholars, right? So there's an organization based in the Middle East called AOFI, that's the Accounting and Auditing Organization of Islamic Financing Institutions. It's a mouthful, but that organization is a very important organization. This is the gold standard of Islamic financing organizations in the world. It was created back in the early 1990s by Mufti Taqi Usmani and other very distinguished scholars in the Muslim world. And the reason they created the organization was to set standards and guidelines for Islamic banking and Islamic financing. Because at that time, in the early 90s, Islamic financing was just getting developed in a lot of Muslim countries. It was kind of like the Wild West. There was no rules and regulations. So this organization was created for that specific purpose, to have these guidelines and standards that Islamic financing companies could follow. So UIF has been a member of AOFI since 2007. We have 3 Sharia board members on our board. All 3 of them are members of AOFI. One of them actually is one of the board members of AOFI. He's one of their executives, actually. He's very high up in AOFI. And we went to them because we wanted to go to the best scholars, right? The top scholars that are available to review our program. So we have, a board of Islamic experts, Islamic finance experts, and then they drafted a fatwa with us, to approve our program after reviewing our contract and everything. So we have their fatwa posted on our website for all of our programs. So not just for the home financing, for commercial, for vehicle, savings account, all of the programs we have to have the fatwa for, right? So most people think this is where it ends, right? You get the fatwa, mashallah, you have it, you've done your job. No, that's not enough. So AOFI requires a couple of extra steps. So you can imagine, I give this example, right? But you go to the halal, restaurant, and maybe 10 years ago the owner said, yeah, we're halal, we have a certificate, Sheikh so-and-so approved us on our process. So now the ownership changes, or there's some changes in management or something, and you go there and you start hearing rumors that maybe this is not halal anymore, right? How do you know, right? How do you know if the restaurant is still serving halal meat, right? You have to verify it somehow, right? AOFI requires this, right? They require a verification and auditing process that has to be done by Islamic financing companies. So there's 2 steps to that. One step is the company itself has to have its own internal auditing that they do. So UIF, we have to pay a Sharia expert who reviews our contracts on a quarterly basis, right? To make sure that we're in compliance, taking care of our customers the right way, inshallah, that we're adhering to the fatwa that was issued to us. And then last but not least, the board itself, our Sharia board, also audits our contracts on an annual basis, all right? And so these audits are also posted on our website, right? So full transparency, we post everything for the public to see. We work with our scholars to make sure that what we're doing is authentic and is halal, inshallah. So I'd like to mention this because I think there's a lot of sometimes misconceptions about how all of this works. It's actually very rigorous. It's not, we have to pay a lot of money to get this done. The board members, etc., they don't do it for free, right? They're experts, they're professionals. And so we have to pay extra for this auditing and this entire process to make sure that we stay in compliance, inshallah. So I want to mention briefly, if you're looking for home financing, Brother Hashim's here, inshallah. He's going to look to help you get pre-qualified, figure out how much home you can afford to buy, right? So he's going to look at three main things. He's going to look at your credit, he's going to look at your income, he's going to look at how much down payment and money you have saved for the closing costs, right? So based on those three things, he'll be able to tell you approximately how much you're qualified for, whether it's a $200,000 house, $500,000, $1 million house, whatever the case may be. He'll help you, inshallah, finding exactly how much you're qualified for. He'll be able to provide you estimates of the closing costs, monthly payments, estimated taxes, insurance, the whole thing. Buying a house is not an easy journey, right? We get so many, so many of our clients are first-time buyers. They need a lot of help, right? Because we don't just buy houses every month, every year, right? It's maybe once in a while, maybe for most people once or twice in their lifetime. So you want somebody who's an expert, who knows the way, right? I often like to say it's like if you were lost in the jungle, right? And someone was like a guide in the jungle, they could get you out of the jungle to the village to safety, right? Buying a house sometimes feels like that you're lost in a jungle because there's so many things that you have to keep track of. You're moving your family, your wife or your husband, right, are packing things and getting the kids ready. You have so many things to worry about. You don't want to be stressing about the financing process, right? So Hashim is, mashallah, very good. He's been one of our top salespeople for many years now. He'll be able to help you with that, inshallah. So I want to mention a few things just now to wrap up, inshallah, about our savings account. A lot of times people ask us, where do you guys get your money from? Do you guys just get it from a bank? You're borrowing it from a bank and then you're just giving it to us. So we don't have to borrow any money from anybody, right? So that's one thing I like to make very clear. Is UIF never borrows any money from any banks. We have our own capital, but we also have to raise capital for some of our programs, for auto financing, commercial financing. And the way that we do that is we go to the community, the individuals like yourselves who are here. And we are offering for the last couple of years now these halal savings accounts, deposit accounts that we're offering. And we basically are opening these accounts. We ourselves are not a bank, right? We're a private company. So we're not a depository institution. So we've teamed up with University Bank, which is one of which is our parent company that helped launch us UIF in 2005, and they are a bank, right? So they're able to open up accounts for their customers. So they've generously teamed up with us to open up accounts for our customers, and they keep our customers' money siphoned away from any interest-bearing contracts or any interest-bearing loans or anything like that. And since they're a bank and we live in America, you have the added protection of it being FDIC insured, meaning, if God forbid something were to happen to UIF, maybe you heard last year some of these banks like in Silicon Valley, they shut down, right? And they were in big trouble. But the FDIC, which is an American, the deposit, company that's set up to basically insure deposit accounts, protects accounts for Americans up to $250,000. So this is not a Sharia benefit; it's just an American benefit, right? That's what I like to say about that. Is that just an added feature that you get to have by being an American here in the U.S. is that they'll cover any loss up to $250,000, right? So that's just an added bonus. So your money that you give to us for a savings account, where does it go? What is it used for? It's only used for our Islamic financing products, right? It does not get used for anything else. So your money is going to help others to finance a home, to buy a car, to buy commercial real estate, or open a masjid or an Islamic school. So that's the only thing that your money gets invested in. And in return for that, we are sharing our profits with you, right? So whatever profits we're anticipating to get from our business, we are sharing that with our customers. This is how you benefit from opening an account with us, right? So for many years, the Muslim community, we have our accounts, our bank accounts, and no interest checking accounts. It doesn't grow. It doesn't make any benefit, right? It's losing value to inflation. So my appeal to you today is we have a halal, program available. Open an account with us. Very easy. You can go if you have an app, iPhone, you have an Android phone, you can open up an account online with us, either through the web or you can download our app. It's a very streamlined app. I have it on my phone. It's just like if you had it from Chase or Bank of America. Very easy to use. You can open up the account in minutes, inshallah, and transfer funds from your regular checking account to an account with us, and you start receiving a halal profit on top of it, inshallah. We also offer a deposit account, which is similar to like a traditional CD. This one, you have to keep the money with us for a certain amount of time, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and you'll get a better return on the money than you would with the savings account, right? The savings account benefit, there's ATM access. We'll give you an ATM card. We've teamed up with an ATM company that has over 50,000 ATMs worldwide. I've Googled it myself after opening the account. There's a whole bunch of different ATMs near my house where I live in Frisco. I don't think it'd be much different here in Fort Worth. So my appeal again, why leave your money with banks? Open it up, the Islamic financing company, get a halal return for your money. It's just sitting in a checking account. It's not doing anything. You're not getting any value out of it. Open one with us, get a halal return. And then we know, I don't want to get too political on this, right? Because we're short on time. But we know what some of the banks are doing, conventional banks, where their money goes, who it benefits, going to foreign countries that are harming other Muslims. Why are we giving our money to these people, right? It just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. We have this option now. We should be using it, inshallah. And then on top of that, your money is going a place where it's benefiting other Muslims, right? Your money is going to help others to buy their homes, their cars, to finance commercial properties. So you have that peace of mind, inshallah, when it comes to investing with us. Last but not least, alhamdulillah, we've been voted the #1 Islamic financing company last 9 years in a row by Islamic Finance News Magazine. They're a international magazine based out in Malaysia, and they do a survey of all the Islamic banks across the Muslim world. Alhamdulillah, we've won this award now 9 years in a row. Inshallah, make it 10 years, right, Hashim? This year, inshallah, that will be a big accomplishment. But even better than that is our clients. If you check our Google reviews, inshallah, you'll see that, alhamdulillah, we have overwhelming support from the Muslim community who've used us. They've had great experiences, alhamdulillah. Our Plano office, which is right next to Epic Masjid over in Plano, has 4.9 stars. A lot of those reviews are for Hashim, mashallah. So a lot of his customers, a lot of our customers across the country have very high ratings for us. These are real reviews. We can't do any of this stuff. So sometimes people think, maybe we're doing something. We can't do any of this. This is third party. Sometimes we joke that, if UIF was a restaurant, you would recommend this to others, right? You say they have very good reviews, they probably have very good food there, you go there to eat. So we're not a restaurant, alhamdulillah, but we're an Islamic financing company, and in the same way, we have, alhamdulillah, a lot of really good reviews, very positive, very proud of that, and we're always striving to be the best, inshallah. So I'll close with that. I have Hashim's information here on the screen. If you want to take a picture of his information to keep it for later when you're interested, inshallah. He also has his business cards. His handsome sons here, mashallah, are also with him, passing out the cards. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to him for the halal savings accounts, home financing. And inshallah, we can open up for the next 10 minutes or so for some Q&A, inshallah. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you have any questions, please keep it general. That'll benefit everyone, inshallah. If it's something specific to your, if you have any specific questions about your financing situation, then please reach out to Hashim, inshallah. But any general questions, I'm happy to answer today, inshallah.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
On the Musharaka agreement,
Yeah.
there is a sale price. There is a sale price, right?
Yes.
And there is a purchase price.
Sales price, purchase price would be the same thing.
No, it's a different thing.
Why would it be different?
There is a sale price and there is a purchase price. Musharaka agreement is an agreement by which I purchase a house from you, and again on the same transaction you will buy the same house from me, and I will repay you back and get the house back. Is this the transaction?
No, I think you're confusing with the murabaha transaction. Murabaha is a buy and sell. So murabaha is a product we used to offer before. We used to have murabaha. It's basically where we buy the home for you, right, from the seller, and then we resell it to you with a profit added. So that's a murabaha. Musharaka, the transaction is different, is where we are coming together, right, you and I, to buy from the seller.
Yeah.
That's the musharaka. So that's what we're offering.
For example,
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Wording,
Yeah. So but those are different. Yeah, those are different programs.
$100 I'm investing.
Yes.
And $900 you are investing.
Yeah.
Right. So we buy a house.
Yes.
Right. But I have to pay you more than the
900. Yeah. Eventually, over time, you're going to pay us more. Yeah.
That difference, how do you calculate?
So we calculate that based on a couple of things, right? So we look at our cost structure as a company, right? What is profitable for us as a business? And then we also look at our competitors, other Islamic financing companies, other conventional banks. What are they offering? And then we try to be competitive with what's in the market.
So is it similar to the, I'm not talking about interest, but
Yeah.
there is amount of interest, there is a
The
percentage.
profit, yeah, the rent or profit, yeah.
This amount, is the difference similar to the interest?
Yeah, it's gonna be competitive to what's in the market. Yeah, so we don't compete with like landlords, right? That's not our market, right? We're competing against other Islamic financing companies and conventional banks, right? So what they're offering in terms of profit or interest, whatever you want to call that, right? What they're making off the transaction, we are competing with them in that area, and our pricing would be similar or better.
for example, the market rate is, for example, 6%.
Correct. Yeah.
You guys are charging the same amount, either
Yeah. Money wise, yeah.
95 or 6.05.
Yes, yeah. So in terms of how much rent we're charging you, it would be somewhere in the same ballpark of what a conventional bank would charge, right? So in terms of how much money we might make, it would be somewhere in that area, right? In terms of how much that's being charged. That's correct.
And second question is, you said in the beginning, you won't take a from loan, right?
Correct. Yeah, we don't
You
have
have your own agreement.
Yes.
So is there a promise to pay in that agreement?
No, there's not a promise to pay.
There
So-
will be a
so
promise
we
to
have-
pay that.
we have-
For example, if,
Yeah.
okay, let me see. You said no, right? You said there's
Yeah,
no
I mean,
promise to
you're
pay.
saying that term specifically a promise to pay.
See,
No, that's
the
not.
word promise
yeah.
can be interpreted in different words, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're agreeing that you're gonna pay back. Yes,
I'm agreeing to pay back, or I promise to pay, it's the
Yeah.
same thing, right?
Yeah.
So the promise, you don't take a promissory note from me.
Yeah.
That I promise to pay such and such on demand or such and such.
Yeah.
But that, in your agreement, there is a promise, there is a concurrence that I will repay back.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it is the same. The word promise not there, but
No, but
there
see,
it is.
so
The agreement.
I think we're focusing maybe rather too much on the wording, right? So promissory note, like, yeah. So what I'm saying is, yeah. So like your question is that, promise to pay with a conventional loan, like I mentioned, the transaction is structured just around the money, right? It's not structured on the asset itself. So that's where there's a difference in the Islamic financing contract. Is we're stipulating we're buying this together as partners, right? This is how much each party is contributing. This is how much rent you're going to be charged over time. If you pay it off early, we don't charge you the full rent, right? So that's also part of our contract. And there's other rights and responsibilities. We do charge a late fee, yeah. So we have a late fee. Our Sharia board has advised us not to profit off of that. So we actually, any late fees that we collect during the year, we donate to charity. So we don't profit off of it, right? But this is like a requirement from one of our investors, right? They do require that, and there's a late fee, because there's no incentive for people that if there's no late fee to pay back,
Okay,
right? They'll just say,
late fee
Yeah.
on late fee.
no, what do you mean, the late fee on the late fee?
For example, I'm supposed to pay certain amount.
Yeah.
And I did not pay.
Yeah.
And then you put a late fee on it, right?
Yes,
The month ends, right?
Yeah.
The next installments come.
yeah,
And I'm supposed to pay the main fee, main installment.
Yeah.
And then the late fee. So I don't pay that.
so we have a $50 late payment fee per month. So if you're late 1 month, it'll be 50. You're late another month, it'll be 50. So it's not gonna like accumulate. There's no interest involved or anything like that.
So how do you calculate the late fee?
The late fee is if you're late more than 15 days.
No, that I know, but what amount you calculate, on what percentage you calculate the late
The
fee?
$50 late payment fee is just whatever.
For
our
example,
limited-
I'm
Brother, I'm answering your question, right? So then you keep cutting me off. The $50 late payment fee, right, is based on an administrative cost that we've assessed. So that's the minimum, right? So we're not charging anything more than that. It's just whatever our administrative costs are. It's a very nominal fee, $50. Other banks, they charge much more than that, right? So $50, that's a pretty nominal amount. That's incentivized for the customer to make the payment on time, right? So that's what we have. So we don't make any profit. Brother, you asked, hold on, brother, you asked about 6 questions in a row, so I want to go to everybody else. Inshallah, and I'm happy to come back after we have a few of the brothers answering stuff. Yes, brother. Yeah.
So
That's what-
let's say whenever we go ahead and we purchase and we close I think they call it a bond, right? I'm mistaken. The interest bond, okay? You guys have the right to sell it to, let's say Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, other investors.
No, we don't. No, we don't sell. Yeah.
Everything is in-house, nothing can be sold outside.
So we do. Okay, so I think what you're alluding to is like, can we sell to like outside investors, right? So the way it works, we do have other outside investors we sell our contracts to, right? So the main 2 that we sell to are Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, right? So those are government agencies, they're not banks, right? So we don't work with any banks in terms of who we work with. What they're doing is they buy out our share in the home, right? So our equity share, we have a certain amount of equity in the home. For example, we did the 90-10 example. They'll buy out the 90% from us and take our place in the contract. The contract that you have with us stays in place, right? They're our back-end investor. You don't deal with our investors. You only deal with us, right? So we collect your payment and pass it on to our investor. We also have a program that has no back-end investor. We keep everything on our books, right? So that is basically the relationship we have with our investor. Again, they're a back-end investor. They're Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae government agency set up to basically bring liquidity to the housing market. So they buy Islamic contracts and they buy conventional contracts as well. So they've agreed to buy that to help the Muslim community and Islamic financing. So they bundle them. So they bundle them as mortgage-backed securities. They sell them to pension funds. They sell them to hedge funds, Wall Street, whoever wants to invest in the housing market, right? So part of that, if people want to invest in the housing market, that's up to them. But part of that would be they'd be a small percentage of Islamic financing contracts they'd be investing. So that's not something that we control, right?
Well, I have the choice to tell you I don't want you guys to sell this, sell whatever.
No, you wouldn't have the right unless you have one of our programs where we don't sell to, where we have a portfolio contract, meaning it stays on our books, right? We have a program like that. But our fixed rate program, we do work with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. They do buy our contracts for that.
So what's the difference if I just went to Chase Bank and I just took it?
Right. So let me explain that because I think maybe it went over your head in terms of like how to understand that. So
I understand what you're trying to say. You're making that as possible.
So let me explain, right? So let me explain from the beginning because this is not like an easy thing to go over, right? It takes time to explain it. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae are government agencies, right? That were set up by the U.S., right, to fund the housing market in the U.S. So Islamic financing companies didn't start until roughly about early 2000s. There was a Muslim brother who worked at Freddie Mac during that time, and Islamic financing companies did not have the liquidity needed to continue financing homes in the U.S., right? Basically, there's a capital issue. Don't have enough money, right? We're going to run out of money eventually. So Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, government agencies, they buy conventional contracts, right? And their job is to buy those contracts and they bundle them and they sell them to investors, whoever wants to invest in the U.S. housing market, right? So early 2000s, the Muslim brother was working at Freddie Mac. Islamic financing companies reached out to both Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, asking them, would you guys be willing to buy Islamic financing contracts? Because we have liquidity issues, right? We have cash issues. We're not able to finance enough homes. The Muslim community is demanding more and more homes. We don't have enough cash, right? So what they agreed to do, since part of their charter at Freddie Mac is to help underserved communities in the Muslim in the U.S. Muslim communities underserved. A lot of Muslims will not buy a house because it's interest-bearing contracts, but they'll work with Islamic financing companies, right? So the brother who's at Freddie Mac, he's a Bangladeshi brother, he helped negotiate meetings with Freddie Mac. They were able to come to agreement with UIF and other Islamic financing companies that they would buy our contracts, right? Just like they would buy conventional contracts. We've structured our contract or Musharaka agreement that there's not a sale of debt, right? They're buying our share in the home, right? So this is totally halal. There's nothing wrong with it. Just like whether me and you own a business 50-50, let's say after like 5 years, and say, you know what, I want to take my money out of this business, either retire or I want to start another business. So I sell my share of the business to Hashim. Hashim comes and he takes my place, and now he's a partner with you. Everything still goes along the same way that you set up in the beginning. Nothing changes. So the same thing with Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. They buy our share in the home. Nothing changes in terms of what happens with your agreement with UIF. Your contract stays exactly the same. Same thing if we went out of business, right? If we went out of business and Chase Bank or somebody else bought UIF, right? Whatever contract you already have, they cannot legally make any alterations to that. It's going to stay exactly the same. In the future, they might make a change, right? That's up to them. They're the owner of the company, right? But anything that already exists, they cannot make any change, right? So again, contract stays the same. We're pulling out our money. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae are buying our contract and then moving on. And so we're able to continue financing more properties and helping more of the Muslim community. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
I will continue with the question.
But I have one last question.
Sure.
So what's the catch on if we choose not to use Freddie Mac?
So is that a different contract? It's a different, basically a different program in the sense that it's a Musharaka agreement, right? But we keep it on our books, right? And this program basically would require, it's at least 20% down, 700 credit, right, to be on that one. So the risk is a little bit higher, right? Or we're a little bit more risk averse on that one, right? Because we don't have outside investors staying on our books, right? So until you pay off the contract, it's our money that's sitting there. And so we're a little bit more cautious about it. But you can use that program. That contract would not be sold to Freddie Mac or Fannie.
And is it going to be the same interest rate?
Be pretty similar, yeah. Not too much of a difference. Yeah.
What do you mean by not too much of a difference? You mean 1%, 0.5%?
Yeah, I would say maybe like 0.5% or so. Yeah, not a huge difference. insurance. Yeah, but like I said, the risk is higher for us, so we do charge a little bit more for that. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean the requirements, like I said, like on our fixed rate, we can do 5% down, 620 credit. With if it's on our books, we're requiring usually about 680 to 700 credit and at least 20% down. So that's usually the case. All right.
Now I think your business is halal. I thought it was halal.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, alhamdulillah. All right. I'm glad I got one conversion. All right. So alhamdulillah. Yes, brother. Any other questions? Yes, brother. Brother, make it an easy one, brother. These guys are.
Mine is very easy. Thank
Okay,
you very much for this beautiful presentation.
My pleasure.
On the rent to own part of the
Yes.
payment, is it fixed or it will be evaluated based on the?
No, it's fixed. Yeah. So it is fixed. So we have the fixed rate program. Let's just go back here, right? But your house payment consists of a few different things, right? But your payment to UIF, it's your buyout and it's the rent, right? So those two together will be the same amount. Now, how much of that money is going towards the buyout and how much is going towards the rent, that will change over time, right? Because it's an amortized schedule that we use for the contract. So that's going to change. But if you have a $1,000 monthly payment with us, that's going to stay $1,000 through the life of the contract. Property tax, insurance, that can go up and down. Most of the time it goes up, unfortunately, especially here in Texas with the cost of everything going up. But the payment to UIF, that's for the buyout and the rent, that's going to stay fixed. Okay. Jazakallah khair. Yes, brother. Any other questions?
If everybody's done,
Okay. So inshallah, we'll just take a couple more because brother, I got a really long drive too.
anybody
But
that wants to ask,
yeah.
I will.
Inshallah. Okay. Any other questions?
I knew you wanted.
So any, yeah, brother, go ahead.
So is there any example, regarding Musharaka agreement in the era of Prophet, that there was a similar type of transaction?
So brother, when the Sheikh introduced me, right? He didn't say Imam or Subhani, Mufti or Subhani. So I'm not qualified to answer that question. I'm not sure they had like the musharaka like we have now, but we are relying on the scholars in Islamic financing to help us develop that. That's the best way I can answer that. So we're going to the people who are the ones who are the successors of the Prophet, right? And they're the heirs of the Prophet. So we go to them, right? We go to the ulama, we ask them for their help in developing this.
And in case that person's question, in case he has a 10% share and he commits a default, right?
Yes.
And he doesn't want to say he wants to retain his 10% from that house.
Yeah.
Can he retain it?
Yes, he can. So it's going to depend. Like you're thinking maybe like worst case scenario, like he can't make any payments anymore. We'll ask him to sell the home, right? Worst case scenario. If he can't sell the home for whatever reason, we have to then follow state law, right? We're in the United States. We have to follow federal and state regulations, right? If it goes into like a short sale or foreclosure proceeding, the home would be sold, right? And if the home sells for above value when he bought it, right? You get to keep whatever money you had, maybe profit as well. But if it sells below value, you're going to take a loss, we're going to take a loss. So that's the way it would work. So this is like worst case scenario, we have to follow state law.
It's similar to interest-based transaction, only the word.
In some ways, we're going to be because we have to follow state and federal laws, right? But the contract itself, like we developed it, it's completely Sharia compliant. There's other things like, we have late payments. Obviously, that's an issue. Insurance is an issue, right? But, again, these are things that we can't avoid living in the U.S. We have to abide by that.
Thank you.
All right, Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
Thank
Assalamu
you.
alaikum.